You know, I am now starting to believe that whoever is working in the scouting department for the Baltimore Ravens has some psychic abilities or powers that we don't know about, because this franchise simply does not miss when it comes to finding talent in the NFL draft. Now, of course, everybody is going to be having their eyes on Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, who were the Baltimore Ravens' 2 first-round picks from this past year's NFL draft. But Travis Jones and Isaiah Likely, the Ravens' 2 mid-round selections, are going to be absolute studs, because these 2 guys have been phenomenal so far throughout training camp for the Ravens up to this point, and they were outstanding in the Ravens' preseason win against the Tennessee Titans. Now, before you go down in the comment section, you say, JT, you're overreacting to one preseason game. Listen, you don't need 3 to 5 months to find out the guys who can't play and the guys who can play. You can find out the players who got game within the first couple of practices. And then another thing is that you have to remember that the Ravens are one of the best franchises in the NFL when it comes to player development. Because you just can't draft players and they just become good automatically. You have to have a coaching staff that's able to coach these guys up, develop them, and help them perform at a really high level. And when you look at Travis Jones and Isaiah Likely, I feel like these 2 players are going to be studs for this franchise for years to come. And both of them had significant playing time against the Tennessee Titans. I want to start off with tight end Isaiah Likely. He was a 4th-round pick out of Coastal Carolina. He has been really outstanding so far throughout training camp. I felt like he was one of the best tight ends coming out of this past year's draft class, and I was really surprised that he went in round 4. I thought that he would be a 2nd-round pick, but the large reason why he fell to the 4th round was because many people had concerns about his run blocking, which definitely was on full display in this game. His run blocking wasn't all that great, and on top of that, he had 2 holding calls. But Isaiah Likely just has a knack for finding ways to get open in the passing game. He has phenomenal hands, quick feet, which helps him generate a lot of yards after the catch. And the most impressive play that Isaiah Likely had in this preseason win against Tennessee came in the 2nd quarter. It was 1st and 10. He caught a pass in double coverage. 2 defenders draped all over him. And the announcers just went absolutely crazy about it. And I was going bananas about it too, because this guy is a freak. And when you look at his testing numbers, this isn't somebody who was dominating the 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.8. But his game speed looks as if he runs a 4.5 or a 4.6. Like, this guy can really move. And there were a good amount of people saying that he was a wide receiver disguised as a tight end. He should move to wide out. Listen, you're not going to put somebody who's running 4.8 at wide receiver. On top of that, just because he can't run block all that great doesn't mean he can't develop into a great tight end. Let me ask you guys something. Which one would you rather prefer? Would you rather have a tight end who is elite in the passing game, or a tight end who is average in the passing game and elite when it comes to run blocking? I'm pretty sure you would prefer the tight end who is elite in the passing game, because it is a passing league. And I do understand that the Ravens do run a lot of 2 tight end, 3 tight end sets, but the Ravens are going to find ways to get Isaiah Likely involved in the passing game, because if you have an elite tight end that's great in the passing game, it just brings a different element to your offense. On top of that, you already have Mark Andrews. So you put Isaiah Likely out there, plus you have Rashad Bateman on the outside. That's going to be really hard to stop. And I think with Isaiah Likely being the tight end, another reason why you keep him there and you don't try to move him to wide receivers, because at tight end, his skill set makes him a matchup nightmare for whoever he's lining up against. Because most linebackers are not all that great enough in coverage to be able to match up with Isaiah Likely in coverage. And on top of that, He's too big and too physical for most defensive backs to cover. He's 6'4", 245 pounds. So I don't know if a lot of you guys remember this, but when Kyle Pitts was coming out of Florida, there were a small group of people amongst the draft community who felt like Kyle Pitts should make the switch to wide receiver because they had the same knock on Kyle Pitts that many people have on Isaiah Likely, which is his run blocking. People act like you can't teach somebody how to run block. They teach you this at almost every single level of football. They teach you how to block in Pop Warner, middle school, high school, college. It's not that hard for somebody to improve their run blocking. Now, of course, he may not ever become a mauler in the run game, but you don't need Isaiah Likely to become a mauler in the run game. I'd rather him be an average blocker than have him be a great blocker and average in the passing game. This is somebody who has the potential to be an elite tight end in this league. And on top of that, he is very phenomenal after the catch. I mean, he's really shifty, really quick on his feet. You don't really see a lot of tight ends that have quick feet like Isaiah Likely. I think that he is likely to be something really special. You guys see what I saw? You guys see what I did there? No pun intended, but I think that when you look at Likely, as long as the Ravens continue to develop him and he further improves as a run blocker, which he will, I think that he's going to be very good in this Ravens offense. On top of that, you can line him out wide in certain situations. Now, you're probably not going to be having him out wide as much as you would have a guy such as Kyle Pitts or Travis Kelce, simply for the fact that he's not the fastest guy. He does have deceptive speed because he is faster in game than he is when it comes to running the 40-yard dash. However, you know, he's better suited as sticking as a pure tight end because that's where he's best at. And of course, you can line him up in the slot because most slot cornerbacks aren't going to be physical enough to guard him or match up with him. Even if he's not the fastest, just with how physical he is, he's going to be a handful. Now, when you look at Travis Jones on the other hand, I mean, this dude is an absolute freak. He's 6'4", 325 pounds, and he ran a 4.92 40 at the combine. And then not only that, but you go and you watch this Tennessee game and he's running, you just see this big behemoth of a man running across field trying to tackle Malik Willis. And I was more impressed with Travis Jones than I was Malik Willis at times because I was like, yeah, Malik Willis is flashy, but who the hell is this big dude chasing him down? Watching Travis Jones play a couple of nights ago made me want to add 300 pounds to my frame and want to play defensive tackle. I mean, the dude, this dude was getting busy. I mean, it's just so fun to watch super athletic big man just get after it. And I mean, whoever the Tennessee Titans had matching up against him on their offensive line, they had no answer for him. I mean, he was doing whatever he wanted to. The dude was literally involved on almost every single play that was in the proximity. I was just so impressed with what I saw out of Travis Jones. And the announcers were too because they kept talking about him. And during the broadcast, they said when they were talking with the coaches on the Ravens staff, they felt like they got another first-round pick in Travis Jones. Because, let's be honest, nobody was really watching UConn play. And I don't really think too many people know about UConn outside of their women's basketball team and their men's basketball team. Their football team hasn't been good since God knows when. So a lot of people overlooked how good Travis Jones was. And the good amount of draft websites out there had Travis Jones as a top 40, top 50 player going into the draft. So for Baltimore, you got somebody who's super talented, super athletic, and with proper coaching, this dude is going to end up maybe becoming one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league within the next 2 to 3 years. Now this season, he's most likely going to be a rotational piece on the Baltimore Ravens defensive line because they have a lot of depth and a lot of talent there. But this is somebody who is powerful. He is a freakish athlete. On top of that, he pretty much can do whatever he wants to do against Tennessee's offensive line. Like, whoever is in a position battle for any of the starting jobs on Tennessee's offensive line, you're going back, and if you're Mike Vrabel, you're looking at that film, you're saying, man, like, none of you guys could slow this big behemoth of a man down. Maybe we probably should have tried to draft him. Like, Tennessee's offensive line had no answers for Travis Jones. And a lot of Ravens fans have been asking me to make a video about Travis Jones, but I just really haven't had the time. But I definitely see why a lot of Ravens fans have been raving about Travis Jones over the last couple of months. And a lot of people are really excited about what Isaiah Likely is going to bring to this offense. You're getting a tight end who is going to be very good vertically when it comes to stretching the field. You have some really great studs in Travis Jones and Isaiah Likely.